Today, Wednesday, marks the last of a three-day general strike in Belgium over the government's austerity measures. The mass industrial action has caused closures in a range of sectors nationwide: transportation, schools, hospitals, and public services all facing disruptions, with the effects even felt in Germany. Now, Wednesday was expected to have the heaviest impact as private sector unions are joining the movement. And then in a recurring theme across the European continent now, the unions behind the general strike say that the Belgian government is dismantling social services in the name of addressing the public deficit. For more, we'll cross now to our Brussels correspondent, Dave Keating. Hi, Dave. So what does the turnout look like? Can you tell us more about this three-day long strike?
Yeah, this is the biggest day of the three-day strike because today both the private and the public sector is participating. Over the past 3 days, we've had no public services in certain areas. So, for instance, very, very limited public transport, essentially most of it not running. Also, today, there's a shortage of bin bag collection. So the trash isn't being collected except in a very minimal way. Also, Brussels Airport is closed today. No flights departing Brussels Airport. Now, the unions who are organizing this national strike are protesting the austerity moves from the new right-wing government that was elected in last year's Belgian national election. That government says that it has to impose these austerity measures because the budget was not balanced for so many years by the previous governments and because the government took on so much debt during the COVID pandemic in order to keep businesses and people afloat during those lockdowns. But those measures have not been popular with the unions. The Prime Minister, who is from the Flemish Nationalist Party, the first time that party is governing, a party that technically wants the northern part of this country to secede, that is Bart de Wever. And he has been really adamant in the face of these strikes, saying, no, we're pushing forward with this. We're doing this no matter what. Particularly controversial is the government's cuts to pensions. That has been the main target of the protest so far. However, on Monday, by coincidence, the government was finally able to agree to the new budget that they have in mind. They were finally able to get an agreement within the coalition partners. They say that new budget is going to reduce the deficit by 9 billion euros, but it is going to be controversial.
Dave, the speaking of that, then the Belgian government, of course, reached an agreement on that budget for the next year. So how might that factor into things, especially the controversial elements that you just mentioned there?
Yeah, probably the most controversial with the unions are going to be two elements. One is Belgium is one of the few countries that has salaries indexed to inflation. So when we had that runaway inflation last year, we saw salaries majorly increase by sometimes 11%. They've effectively ended that with this new budget. So the amount that salaries are indexed by inflation is going to be capped to a certain amount. So we won't get these runaway salaries that we got last year. That's supposed to save businesses money, but also to generate government revenue. They are changing the rules about how you can collect your pension if you've taken long-term sick leave, something that's very common here in Belgium. Now you would have your pension reduced for doing that. That's also going to see some fierce opposition from the unions. There's other changes as well. There will be increased tax on things like sports club memberships, cultural events. There will be increased taxes on flights departing out of Belgium, but they did not go through with their idea to have a general increase of VAT. The VAT will stay roughly the same except on certain specific things. In fact, in some areas, the VAT will go down. But this budget is going to go down like a lead balloon, I think, with the people who are on strike today who are not going to be happy to see some of these cost-saving measures.
Dave Keating, our reporter in Brussels, thank you very much.